Hey friends, and welcome back to Old Mill Homestead. So it's been a couple weeks since I posted a video, and so I want to kind of tell you a little bit about Old Mill Homestead and the challenges that I'm facing as a newer homesteader. So, you know, you've seen and we've mentioned the garden. We had 7 75-foot row garden beds. Most of that was full with produce, fruits and veggies. So what I found is we had a lot of new things this year. That was the first time ever I had done a garden. First time ever getting chickens. We actually ended up with 17 chickens. Then we went and got 15 more. So we have 32 chickens in the yard. 29 of those are gonna lay. We ended up with 3 roosters, hence why we got 15 more chickens. I'm probably the only homesteader that would, instead of killing a chicken to process the rooster, I opted to go get more girls so I didn't have to get rid of a chicken or kill a chicken. So that in itself is not very much of the homestead vibe, right? With the garden, we had a tremendous garden. I mean, God really blessed that garden and just all the things that we wanted to do with it. So back in June of 2020, I'll talk about this in my other channel. I was on the floor in tears, just talking with God about situations that were going on. I don't touch on that much on this channel. And clearly I felt him call me to talk with people that suffer with depression and anxiety, in particular Christians, and how that relates to the Bible. But I also, most of who I watch on YouTube, 90% are homesteaders, and I very much feel like we belong in that community. So between the two, I wanted to do the homestead channel, right? And God wanted me to do the other channel, which is Stronger Every Day. And so I started both, and they've really done way more than I ever thought. However, our homestead looks a lot different than other people's homesteads, right? It was the first time we had ever done a garden, ever. And it was, in my opinion, it was a success. What I found more joy in, though, I don't foresee us ever being a homestead family that has a room or a pantry just full of glass jars where we've canned and preserved all of our own meats, all of our own vegetables, all of our own fruits, all of our own jellies, jams, sauces, syrups, vinegar, all of that. Number one, we don't have the space for that. And number two, that's where I would like to continue to grow every year. But, you know, having 30 freezer meals stacked up, or I don't eat beef, but for reference, having 5 freezers, or, you know, a very own room or pantry or basement or dry space. We don't have any of those. We have a very small little pantry which suits our needs, but to have that Pinterest worthy homestead, or what you see on TV homestead, right now today we don't have the space for that. We do want to build a garage at some point. We've talked a little bit about that, and we're not going to go into building a garage blindly. Just because I want a garage doesn't mean that's the best financial decision for us right now. And so we're actively saving for a garage. But as you know, anything now is expensive, and we're probably looking at $50,000 to build a garage, and so 30 to 50. And so we want to have some of that saved up before, you know, we want to have everything in place. So eventually I would like to get a freezer that we could put in the garage, but right now we don't have a place for a freezer. So our options are a little different than most of the homesteads, and we're different in the fact that homestead, it varies so wildly, right? Like some classify as you should be off grid. You know, you never go to the grocery store. As I've said from the very beginning, all of this is a learning process for me. Cooking in general is a learning process for me. I've joked that I thought our stove was going to be a lifetimer, right? Because I cooked twice a year for Christmas and Thanksgiving, and that was about it. And now it gets used quite a bit more. I've enjoyed the gardening process. What I enjoy more is giving, though. You know, what I would love to say is, out of that 75-foot row garden bed, that we have, you know, a pantry full of things, and we don't. We have, I think we ended up getting about 10 quarts, 10 to 12 quarts of like pasta, pizza sauce type thing. We have several pints of cowboy candy, several half pints of jalapeno jelly. We preserved a ton of cucumber. We did pickles, and we did banana peppers, preserving those, sauerkraut. What I did with a lot of the cucumber, we ate them fresh, or we preserved them for the chickens, so that we're not having to go buy treats, especially in the summer months when it's super hot, which it was this summer. We were able to just pull some things out of the freezer and let them cool off with those. A lot of that was cucumber. We preserved a lot of zucchini for zucchini bread and things like that. But, you know, we don't have a dehydrator. We don't have a freeze dryer. A lot of things that I would love to have a freeze dryer, but I'm going to pay cash for a freeze dryer. I'm not going to charge a freeze dryer. And so that's something that we're actively trying to save for, but things kind of happen, you know, in the middle of that, and you kind of have to pull from that fund to cover some things. So we've had a lot of interesting things with vehicles happen. Just things. The chicken coop in general ended up being way more than I could have ever imagined that we were going to have to buy the material for, because I thought we had more than we did. That being said, going out there every day, 2 or 3 times a day, and watching the goats and chickens brings me such peace and such joy. So our homestead, it's, you know, it's going to be still every Monday, and it's going to be more about me and the cooking process and learning to cook. What you're not going to see, though, is everything that comes out of those ingredients. A lot of it's going to be store-bought. I'll use what we have. Obviously, I'm gonna use what we preserved, but it's not going to be glass jars and glass jars and glass jars of meat and vegetables and fruits. It's going to be a lot of store-bought things, and I'm okay with that. It's learning. I'm not going to jump into wearing myself out trying to make my home and everything about it more Pinterest worthy or YouTube worthy of the name of Homesteader. For me, we fit best in the homestead community because we're trying to be more self-sufficient, trying to be more sustainable. We love this land. I love being able to grow. I really got caught up in that this year in the garden. We grew a ton of fruits and vegetables and pretty much gave a lot of it away. There's something about blessing friends and family with tangible things that can take a little bit of financial burden off of them. We have the land, we have the space, we can grow it, and I would say we probably gifted probably 100 pounds, 125 pounds of tomatoes away this year. I would say between all the peppers that we grew, the cucumbers, zucchini, all the different varieties of peppers, the watermelons, we probably gifted another 100 to 200 pounds of that away. We preserved some for ourselves, but there's something about just handing people over that, and I've had so many people say you should sell this. And long term, if we continue year by year building on the garden, and it's still an enjoyable process for me, we may. I'm one person, and while Nick does help, he also works outside the home long hours and very taxing hours, mentally taxing hours. And so, you know, I don't have per se a helper that can help me every day, or you know, sometimes we can only get projects done on weekends or at night. And so I would love to still do that. Would I ever sell it? Maybe in the future, but that would be left over, right? It would be after we've used what we want to use for processing, and we've given our friends and family what they need for processing. And if we had left over, we might potentially sell. That's another reason why I wasn't upset about getting 15 more chicks, because we can bless friends and family with eggs. And as you know, some of the most important things in your area are eggs, milk, flour, butter, probably sugar, onions, and garlic. I mean, those, you tend to gravitate towards those things all the time. And you know, even if you're just like, for Nick and I, when I make breakfast, if I do scrambled eggs, I usually do 4, so 2 for him and 2 for me, and then I'll fry him up an egg. So I usually use 5 eggs just for the 2 of us. So you go through a lot, and if you can bless somebody in that way, then to me that's homesteading as well, right? It's not about opening my pantry and seeing all these glass jars. Well, I think that's beautiful, and I absolutely think it's amazing that people are able to do that. That might not be this homestead, right? It may in the future. I'm leaving that possibility open, that we may create a space in the garage that more like a cold room where we can store things. And if we get a garage, we will get a freezer. I would love to be able to have 30 freezer meals in the fridge, so in the days that I'm feeling down, or the days that it's been a busy day on the homestead and I don't feel like preparing a meal, I've got one prepared. Right now we have a fridge freezer, and there's not a lot of storage in there. Right now it's stored with produce from our garden. So I just want to kind of give you a little direction on homesteading Chrissy's way, right? And so this channel probably isn't going to be for the die-hard homesteaders. It's probably going to spark some people that I use store-bought ingredients. I've said from the very beginning, we will always go to the grocery store for things such as milk, cheese, cream, butter. We do not have a dairy cow. We do not plan on getting a dairy cow. We do not plan on butchering our own chickens. On that end, I would rather support local. If I can't find a good source locally for the chicken, then we'll go to the grocery store. And I know that option may not always be there, but it's learning bits and pieces. And for me, I tend to be a little bit of a slow learner. I like to enjoy the process, not rush through the process and then not understand it or not enjoy it. And I certainly don't want to try to rush through it to make content. And while I've tried more recipes in the last 8, 9, 10 months than I ever have in my entire life, a lot of those surprisingly turned out really well. And so for our family, it doesn't make sense for me to keep searching for new recipes and never re-eat the ones we enjoyed, because I need to make content for it. So it's a learning thing. I still cook a decent amount, but a lot of times I'll make things that I've already made in the past. I'm comfortable with that. It's trying to get good at the basics of it, and instead of looking for a gourmet meal to post. I know that the first time I ever made the Marry Me chicken, that video did really, really well, and we have still not made it again to this day. And it was very good. I mean, it was delicious, and I've still not repeated the recipe. So I kind of got in that well, if I'm gonna cook, it needs to be that I'm cooking for the camera and showing. So I've already showed how to make sandwich bread and how to make zucchini bread and how to make baked oatmeal, and those are the things that I make all the time. The bread and the baked oatmeal I make all the time. I turn that bread into everything. So if we need more like a pasta kind of bread, I'll make like a butter and garlic and oregano and parsley butter and put on it. Or if we need it more for eggs and turkey bacon, then we'll put jelly on it. So I use it, it's kind of an all-purpose. It's a sandwich bread, but it's kind of an all-purpose in this homestead. So I wanted to just drop on here and talk to you about that. Yes, I'm going to continue on this channel, 1 video a week, every Monday. It will be starting now because our garden has actually been done for about 3 weeks now. Everything is done. It's grown. It's done its thing. There's really nothing remaining in the garden. There's a few pumpkins that didn't make it out of the garden, that were kind of decomposing in the garden, but other than that, everything's done out there. And so it'll be cooking content. So if that's something that you're interested in, then sit tight with me. Again, cooking for me is a learning process. I never cooked in my entire life. except for Christmas and Thanksgiving, until about a year ago, roughly. And part of that is because of my other channel, because I want to work on my mental health. And so for me, that means eating better and eating better quality ingredients. And while that doesn't always mean the same for everyone, for us, it's just being more selective, right? So instead of running to fast food, it's cooking something at home, and that might not all be organic, it might not all be homegrown. It's taking steps to better our health and our futures and our sanity. So I wanted to drop this video on. Again, starting next Monday, it'll be more cooking content. And like I said, some of that cooking content will be from things that we grew in our garden. Some of it will not be. And if you're looking for that particular kind of homestead channel, there is a plethora of fabulous channels. I watch a lot of them that you can learn great amounts from. I've learned great amounts from them. But as far as here, it's going to be more about me cooking, continuing to learn the process, continuing to find yummy recipes, and also repeating those recipes. So not for the camera, but just getting me more into being an actual homesteader versus kind of the YouTube side of homesteading. Not that that's not real, it is, because you're putting in the work. Trust me, homesteading is hard, and so you're putting in the work, but just my version of it. And that's what we're gonna go with. So I hope to see you guys again. It's gonna be every Monday at 10 o'clock Central Time will be the video, but typically it's going to be about cooking. There will be some videos in there. I'll do some updates on the chickens and the goats, and I'll kind of probably sporadically put that throughout the videos. Obviously at the garden season next year, we'll talk about that. There'll be a video or two about that. There'll still be homesteading content, not just cooking content, but for us, it'll be more seasonally homesteading content, if that makes sense. Obviously we don't have a greenhouse. We're not doing fall planting this year. I feel like that would overwhelm me. So we've had a lot of news and a lot of firsts, and we've had to put a lot of infrastructure into our homestead this year, and I just feel like fall planting is just not for me this year. Now I will probably try to do it in the years to come, but for this year it's just not in the cards. So we're gonna wrap it up here. I hope to see you guys, like I said, every Monday at 10 o'clock Central with just a little bit of learning. It's learning how to homestead, learning how to cook, learning how to take care of chickens. I've never had chickens in my life until this June. Now we have 32. And learning about more about goats. We've had the goats for 5 years, but the two original, well, the one original, but just kind of learning all of those processes. So we'll hope to see you every Monday. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you later, friends. Bye.